Okay, day 75. I've 3 notches right, 3 notches down because the sun's out. But I've also gone over to Adobe color because I found last year that red, blue, green was best for when I was using the night settings when I switched over. Now I'm thinking, well, if I'm using Cute Dessert, maybe I got to flip the colors to get even better. I don't know. I'm just testing it out, fellas. So you look at your Fang things and see what they're like. It may be different. It may be I'll get fantastic colour for the JPEGs but not for the movie, or vice versa. Now I'll get fantastic colour if I go to Spot Cullen. I might get fantastic colour for the movie, but the JPEGs will be out. At the moment, with the red, green, blue, which I've had on up to now, which I found was best for all the night scene settings, which were like 3 left, 2 down basically. And this is Cute Dessert, which is basically 3 right, 3 down, 2 right, 2 down. And I'm assuming when I go back to using night settings for low light conditions sort of thing, winter time, basically middle of the year, during the wet, I will adjust back to. But you've got to remind me, fellas, because I've got a terrible memory that if I get stuck on this setting for the next into April, May of 2018, you're going to have to tell me to adjust back if I go to the night settings for when we flip into the wet for the winter, that I've got to flip back to red, green, blue, which I feel is better than Adobe color in the night settings. So I'm just trying this out. Anyway, some surprises. Not really happy with this one here. Not really happy, but we've had a little bit of a development, I think. I'm still setting up, of course. Yeah, colour check on that one. That one's nearly ready to go. But this one here, I put in. They got whacked a lot. They got set back a lot. But now they're starting to make a move. But that, as you can probably see, it's starting to grow now. But what was the surprise is these newspaper cellulose granules. Have you noticed some of them are actually swelling up greater than they normally do when after you put hot water on them and soak them for a few days, sort of thing. They're now expanding further, but they're not pushing anything out of the pot. So that's what I'm saying, fellas. We go back to normal area. Is the amount they swell up. Well, they're swelling up even greater than they would normally do after you put hot water on them. So how come they're not pushing stuff out of the pot? Big mystery. Whether it's only swelling on the top, I don't know. Have to see. Anyway, so I'm setting these things up, and I may even do another one down there, depending on how that one down there goes. But apart from that, that's about it for here. I'm still setting up, basically. It's taking longer than expected, but as I said, we did get a bit of a surprise there. The newspaper cellulose granules, when we use the universal surfactant, after you flush the pot, they swell up even further than they would normally do. And I think I'm starting to get a little bit of greening. A lot of flowers have been out here, fellas. I've been trying to pollinate these things, trying to get some seed, I suppose, just to have some fun. But these are all sort of stabilised to a certain degree. That one's starting to make a move, I think. So, not too impressed with them, but I suppose we're going to learn something. Still not all that greening that I had there is sort of gone, sort of thing. So the fresh peat, I think, is inhibiting the greening on the old peat, sort of thing. But they are growing. The plants are sort of growing. Third picture out, so it should get going now. So yeah, if I get that, it's the third picture out, and now it should by rights be going. I'm getting this greening along the edges of the pot, mainly. I don't know why it's always on the edge of the pot. You get the most greening when it initiates. I don't know, but this is very slow. This one, I think it's a negative. I think that's a dead loss. That one, too slow to grow. Had a bit of kinkiness with this one. I don't know. So that was going to be the third picture, but it is actually starting to take off in the centre, so you know, hopefully you can make up for, if you can see in there, if I can go down there, it's starting to take off. Still with this sort of waxy look to the sand, but it's only down I think it's only down. Oh no, oh wow, oh yes, it's wow, yes, it feels very like you put your universal surfactant into the sand, but we haven't. So, so obviously, maybe the universal surfactant gets us to this stage like overnight sort of thing. So you know, puts you like 6 or 8 weeks down the track sort of thing, straight away. So you know, yeah. I've moved this one slightly over into the sun because I didn't think it was getting enough sun. This one, I don't know. It's just he's not getting enough sun. Or yeah, I'll go to spot colour. Not getting enough sun, I don't know. It's okay, but you know, it's only a little tacker. This one I've moved over here to get more sun, get basically all day sun. If you can see down in there, down in there. Okay, so okay, it's healthy, it's growing, but yeah, after 40 years or so, 40 or more years, I expect a lot more. Anyway, this the Koi one's quite good. Starting to put out lots of leaves. Like we may actually be dividing across. I've noticed I've got greeny, sort of greeny. It's almost like a dark sagey, almost going. You know, it would almost be looking black on the surface of the soil here. But so far, only on this one, the one with identical formulation over there. Yeah. But whether it's going to make a secondary move now, once this becomes like a confluent lawn in there. This is rather interesting, this one here. It's very cheesy, almost like my boots in a way. You know, that sort of dynamic lifter sort of thing. Very cheesy. Whether that means something, you know, well... Cheese is a protein source, isn't it? So, you know, if we start off with a universal surfactant and end up with cheese, you know, it makes you scratch your head, you know, okay. Yeah. Anyway. So, oh yeah, these ones in here, I better go to, here we are, spot colour. First leaf out, I suppose, since we put them in. Second leaf on the way. New leaves out on the Koi one. I don't know. I want to get the camera down there. In there. Oh, down there. Yeah, that's just the sun. Yeah, I know. Probably just still waiting. Lots of flowers I'm trying to pollinate, you know. I have to probably shift buckets around just to pollinate them. I don't think they're going to go. Yeah, starting to get these greening spots on the soil here. Starting to expand out slowly. So eventually, I assume, over time, as we head towards the 3rd week of February, if we keep watering regularly, that's going to go totally green on the surface. Oh, these ones here, over here, are starting to slowly but surely expand out. And of course, we've got new growth there, and we've even got a new one coming out, I think I've noticed this morning. So, yeah. So it took time. It sat there, did nothing for about... Oh, was it 2 months, was it, fellas? And as soon as that surface started to green in little spots, that's when it started to take off. And I think it's going to, yeah, may even be quite impressive by the end of the season, if we're lucky. This one was still waiting for growth, but it's still working on its flower stalk, of course. It's very solid in the ground, though. So I haven't seen any new sign of new growth. I'm still waiting on new fly traps in the shops before Christmas to actually plant in there, sort of thing. So, yeah. So, yeah. That's it with this one. The same formulation, but I haven't seen any spotting at the moment of coloration, but it is it's slowly making a move, you know, like the other one. So whether that means it's going to make an even bigger move later on. That blush that it had here is starting to fade away, sort of thing. So I don't know, it's just maturing, I don't know, or if you've got to get really good growth, you've got to keep the blush in the leaves, I don't know. This one here starting to put out these leaves here. So that's pretty amazing for you know, our surfacted sand and just our candles down the side there. It's just there's something else there, fellas. There's something much deeper there. I've always been saying this for years. There's something there, some fundamental thing we're missing, and hopefully we're just going to keep slicing down, going back. It's always been this case of one step forward, two steps back, two steps forward, one step back. There's something else there, some fundamental truth about CPs that either we just don't know, or there's only a few people out there that know it and not telling, you know. Probably need to be put up against the wall and shot in the ball sack, I don't know. Just putting it out there for you, John. John N, just having a joke, hopefully that'll make him laugh, over in Michigan, USA. Yeah. I don't think people should keep secrets, fellas. You know, they could end up taken out in their 80s and put up against the wall and shot in the ball sack. You've gone past your 70 use by a day, you know, and you're still keeping secrets, not benefiting the world about fly traps. Yeah, up against the wall, bang, bang, bang. Anyway, this one over here, I don't know if you can see it, it's put on spot colour. This is, it's got sort of very plasticky and putting out new leaves on the edge here. Now, I can't remember with this one, I'm probably going to have to go back and check my thing. I know we did it across the line there, but is it more peat on this side? It's not more newspaper cellulose slanting down to less on that side, or vice versa. I'm going to have to go back, fellas. If you've got a good memory, you can remember how we did that one. That's pretty good, but that seems to be making more of a move. But yeah, but as I said, the surprise we got from those granules is that if you surfact the thing, put them in unexpanded. It's tougher on the plants when you first put them in, but they expand even further than they would normally do, and hopefully they'll become housings for microorganisms, and they'll build up in numbers, and we'll see a different response. So very interesting. So just keep that in mind. Surfacted newspapers say those may have different properties, or we might have a bee they're going to pollinate for us, I don't know, than you expect. So anyway, and this one over here, I don't know if you can see this one, but I think the cape's slowly going to come into normality. Very slow, fellas, very poor for, if you've ever known capes, like I've had like 40 years of experience, that is crap when it comes to cape. But you see this one, it's putting up another flower stalk, which is just crazy, It makes you wonder, because they're not supposed to, but the flower stalk's pretty impressive, and the size of the buds for the flowers are going to be pretty impressive. So I don't know what they do in the shops to force grow. They use the force grow. I was just thinking the other day, like force field, you could retrospect it, instead of like having a force choke or a force fuck. You could somehow make it go backwards and go like the force field sort of thing. So anyway, nothing really. Oh yes, the other thing. This one starting to put out little the occasional leaf here, there, but it's also seemed to be somewhat concomitant past the albionization of the sand. You see the sand has gone to that sort of white colour. I've got sort of greening on the surface on this side and down there. So it's mainly on that side. So it's on the deep sand side. So again, I always say, if you've ever seen Gigantea growing on deep sand, you'll be impressed. And this is starting to go green, and green around the plant down there, if we can get it in there, on the deep sand side. So because we've got this double slant in there, a slant of the sand and the slant of the newspaper cellulose. So we might want to do this all again and try and slant the granules. And I don't know if you want to try and do that, get even more impressed. I don't know. Just an idea, fellas. But yeah, lots of sun on there with these funny patches on there. They're almost a black green. Oh yes, like if you wetten these up, you'll see there's some sort of what I think is cyanophyta down there, also with a bit of stink-loving moss growing in. But we've got patches of green. Why are they in patches, fellas? That's what I want to know. Why are they opportunistically just firing off in patches? They seem to be spreading, but they don't seem like spread out from the patches across the whole pot, forming a confluent lawn. You just get the patches sort of developing, and then sort of they'll meet up. But they're not sort of like one patch just keeps spreading and spreading and spreading and spreading. Same here with the calcium one. Starts off around the edge, and then you get patches, and then these things will start to expand out, and eventually I assume that by the 3rd week of February, or later on into 2018, it will all be green across the top. Then we want to see if we get any better growth from the plant, if there's some sort of concomitant connection. Concomitant connection. Yeah, Kermit says, oh, that's better than the rainbow connection. Or concomitant. Oh, I should have written that one. I want that one. Okay. Yeah, I don't know about this one. Not really impressed with that one now. This one, I've had trouble with this one. It's now floating up like an island now when I water it. Don't know why. Anyway, well, that's about it. Oh yeah, slight bit of greening on the surface, very sort of dark, sagey green, very mild. Seems to come and go, but at the same time, I've got this sort of moss, a little bit of moss. Whether that's the moss you see on the cover of all these pots from the commercial price, I don't know. Whether if I'd used the universal surfactant, months ago, I would have got here in a couple of weeks. I don't know. Anyway, nothing much else to report really. And I'm still setting up, and then hopefully when I'm set up, I'll start getting some rapid data coming back from the other pots. But as I said, the big eye opener for today was these bloody granule things. They swell up if you mix them in with the universal surfactant when you're making up your potting mix, and leave them as the hard granule thing. Eventually, the plants are harder when you put them in. It takes longer to get going, but those granules swell up even. I don't know how big they're going to swell, but they don't seem to swell up and push anything out of the pot. So that is, whether that means they're under pressure down below, I don't know. But yeah, interesting. Just things to keep in the back of your mind, fellas. But from now on, we should start to have it should start to, instead of just being linear sort of growth, it gets slight exponential now, hopefully, if it runs to the experiments I did 5 years or more ago, sort of 2011, 2012, and so we're basically doing it all again. But yeah, so we'll see whether we're going to get green on this slowly, a few spottings and things like that. I don't know. But just my ideas are starting to slowly change, whether we need the brown wood down the bottom and the newspaper sprays up the top but in granules, and vice versa, whether the newspaper sprays will stop the brown wood from rotting, sort of going off. It looks like the new peat sort of inhibits the old peat, stops that greening. If we make the assumption that the greening is good for the plants, it might not be. Maybe, as I said, the greening has to be in patches. Like we've got patching here, by putting the newspaper cellulose through the medium, and it greens where the newspaper cellulose is, and maybe we're actually taking this patchwork on the surface of the soil, and we're spreading this patchwork in a three-dimensional array through the pot using the newspaper cellulose granules that we surfact and they expand up more. Maybe that's how it's going to work. You're actually taking that surface, that thin, crusty surface, because as I water, anything that's growing on the surface, of course, is going to be flushed down. And so eventually over time those microbes are going to build up in numbers, and all the components that they produce, the waste products, are slowly going to be going through the pot and building up, and as they build up in numbers, that's going to increase as well. Whether by putting the granules through the pot, we just have the greening in certain spots, the roots can go between those granules, but because we've now taken this like surface horizon of patchy green and spread it right through the pot, very quickly we get months down the track sort of thing. So we get to this sort of thing on the surface. Using the surfactant we get there almost instantaneously, but because we spread the granules through the pot, we take that 3D approach and multiply this surface. So if this is X sort of thing on the surface, we multiply